All right, everyone. So we have another video here from Ohara. This one focusing on the character of Hisoka. And Hisoka, I feel like, has definitely become a fan favorite among Hunter x Hunter fans. Now, before we get to the video, there might be possible spoilers for the Hunter x Hunter manga. So if you're not caught up with the manga, just know that there might be possible spoilers in this video. So just thought I would, give you guys a bit of a warning for possible spoilers. Again, I don't know. And before we get to the video, of course, I gotta ask you guys that if you like what you see here and if you want to support the content that you see here on this channel, consider leaving a like, sharing, subscribing. Make sure to click the bell icon to be notified. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, as well as any recommendations that you have for videos you want me to react to and give my thoughts on. Just let me know about them in the comment section down below, and make sure to check the description of this video for links to this the video that we're about to watch and Ohara's channel. Make sure you head on over there, subscribe to him, watch his videos, go show him some support. All right, let's go ahead and watch this video.
Watching Hisoka is like watching Game of Thrones jammed into a single character. Sex, violence, questionable moral actions, intrigue, and power. He is undoubtedly one of the most iconic characters in the history of anime. And if you've taken away anything from the videos on this channel, it's that popular characters are successful because the author put a ton of blood, sweat, and tears into creating them. As we will see, Hisoka gives you goosebumps, not because he's cool or strong, or because his bungee gum has the properties of both gum and rubber. No, Hisoka is so damn intriguing because of the psychological tactics that Togashi tied up in his personality, using Hisoka not only as a character, but as a storytelling device that makes Hunter x Hunter what it is today. And so Hisoka is purposefully designed not only to manipulate the characters around him, but also to manipulate you, dear viewer, which is why you love the story so much. This might
So this is, I think I did mention this probably in one of my previous videos, but this is one of the things that I'm really looking forward to seeing in the Hunter x Hunter manga. And without spoiling anything, let's just say there's a chance that Togashi might have hinted to us, the readers, that it might not happen because of where the character is now. Again, I'll try not to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read the manga, but if you know, you know. And I really do hope that we do see this, because again, like I really do want to see a fight between Hisoka and a grown-up Gon, where he's, let's just say he's become much more proficient at using Nen, and he can actually give Hisoka a really good fight. I really hope we do get to see it, but if it doesn't happen, then I mean, it sucks, but it is what it is. I'm sure Togashi will write a good reason for why it didn't happen.
This might well be the most challenging character analysis I've done so far. So buckle up. This is the story of Hisoka Moro.
Sorry, just gotta be careful with music. It's still a little loud, so
If I had to break it down into one sentence,
okay, I think it's fine now.
Manipulative, combat-addicted, and powerful player in the world of Hunter x Hunter, only acting on what gives him the most pleasure. The apex of hedonism. That were actually two sentences? Yeah, okay. Part of Hisoka's
semantics.
charm comes from the fact that we barely know anything about his past. The only hint we ever get is that Hisoka grew up in poverty, coming to cherish even the humblest of luxuries, such as a piece of bungee gum. Now, since this piece of information comes from Hisoka himself, however, it's unclear if we can actually trust the most manipulative person in anime history with being completely honest about his own past. As we will explore in a moment, however,
and this is
very plausible that he indeed did
that's okay, I can wait.
Tragic past. And in this context, I also want to briefly mention Hisoka's past as provided by Sui Ishida, the author of Tokyo Ghoul. While not canon, Togashi has acknowledged it and might be working around it in the future. And so, in case you're not familiar with it, we get a short story about a heavily injured Hisoka being taken in by a circus troupe. How did he get injured? Where did he come from? Where was he going? We have no idea.
We don't know.
According to Hisoka, is that his mother apparently had some sort of proficiency in illusionist arts, teaching him how to use playing cards in various ways. Working with the troupe, it becomes clear that Hisoka was an absolute prodigy, extremely confident in his own capabilities, and able to learn new skills, including Nen, at an incredible speed. He gets involved with the murderous doings of the troupe's leader, who murders people for pleasure, and he even forms a sort of relationship with one of the group's members, while at the same time simply enjoying his own growth and dominance over others. And in the end, regardless of Hisoka's real intentions or efforts, he found himself with little to no option but to kill the troupe's leader and walk away. And so in the end, it was actually Hisoka who put an end to the leader's serial killings, all while showing off his own cruel and pleasure-driven side, perfectly summing up his character. It's quite unclear in the story, however, whether he does so out of a sense of morale or due to his own desire to fight and get stronger. But whatever the reason is,
I think it's because he wants to fight and get stronger.
Kill strong opponents. Not only does his own twisted desire compel him to seek them out, but even if he attempts a peaceful life, the bloodshed will find him. And I think that this shows really well that the truth behind Hisoka's hedonism might very well be some sort of trauma from his past, turning him into the sort of cold psychopath he's now. And while, yeah, Hisoka is a really cool character, I hope it doesn't come as
really
too
cool.
big of a surprise that the man has a pretty severe personality disorder. I do talk a bit more about this in detail in my analysis of Sukuna.
We can watch that one too if you want to.
If you want to learn more,
Let me know in the
about
comments if you want me to watch this, his
the baseline,
Sukuna
however,
video.
is this. Hedonism, in other words, fulfilling your every desire, is not the same thing as happiness. By focusing solely on the present moment without any regard for future consequences, Hisoka completely stays clear of ever thinking back to his past. Through combat, however, not only can he gain control about who gets to hurt him, but he can also dominate people in return and get a sense of importance and purpose, all while delivering a show for the audience. Thus, the true drive to Hisoka's character is satisfying his own desires, which is mostly finding and fighting powerful people. After all, he is a true tactical genius and a phenomenal martial artist. However, I think the best way to understand Hisoka is actually by looking at his Nen abilities.
Qualities of both rubber and gum. I love that this has basically been memed pretty much everywhere you go, whether it's hell, I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it on Instagram, even in some of the YouTube comments. It's basically everywhere. Anytime you look at any video, and it's even in some of the most random videos, even ones that don't even have anything to do with anime, you'll see someone say, okay, yeah, that's cool, but did you know that bungee gum has the qualities of both rubber and gum? For some reason, those just comments, and then you'll see people in the replies, and they'll just completely go go with it. They won't even argue. They won't even say, wait, why are you saying this here? No, they'll just completely go with it.
Just like Killua, Hisoka also belongs to the transmuter category. Its users are said to be deceptive, fickle, and driven by desire. And I think there is probably no other character that fits this description better than our psychopathic clown. First of all, deception. Hisoka is arguably the best liar in the series, not only in the art of making false but believable statements, but in crafting meticulous, intricate webs of deception that completely obscure the truth. Actually, Hisoka literally means secretive in Japanese, so you know it's one of the most defining traits of his character. He is a true master of manipulating people both in and outside of combat, often putting layers of lies on top of each other. Hisoka does so to divert attention, create openings, hide his own weaknesses, and sometimes simply making his opponents suffer. A great example for this is his battle with Castro. Here also, he willingly sacrifices his arms to create an opening, divert attention, and using his bungee gum, pretends to have supernatural powers, while at the same time hiding the fact that he actually did injure himself. All of this is to throw his opponent into utter madness, forcing him to lose his cool and humiliating him in front of the audience, which ultimately leads to Castro's demise. Hisoka also predicted that Castro would die dancing. Now quite understand. Huh? What's up? Yeah, I did. Thanks. Hisoka also predicted that Castro would die dancing. Quite understandably, Castro didn't believe the words of a notorious liar and didn't give it much thought. Meanwhile, people who have come to know this aspect of Hisoka, such as Gon and Killua, may find themselves easily trusting of his words at face value, only to find it all to be a facade in the end.
Which, by the way, I just want to say real quick, I do love, like, this, let me see if I can find it. Where is it? No, not this one.
Yeah, I did. Thanks. Hisoka also...
Yeah, this, okay, this is what I was looking for. One of the things that I love about this, and I do feel like the Hisoka versus Castro fight is probably one of the most underrated fights in all of Hunter x Hunter, because, like, if you go back, and just like he pointed out, like, there was a lot of strategy between, a lot of strategizing going on between Castro and Hisoka. And I love how Togashi just completely wrote this fight, how I think Wing pointed out afterwards when he was kind of replaying the footage for Gon and Killua, and he pointed out that Castro wasn't like, it's not that Castro was weak, it's just that Hisoka had the better strategy. And I love how in Hunter x Hunter it's one of those series where, you know, it doesn't matter whether you have power. If you go up against an opponent, I mean, unless you're someone who's incredibly overpowered, like you know, like Meruem, for example. Although Meruem is someone who isn't just overpowered, he's also highly intelligent, so one of the reasons why he's such a dangerous opponent. But like, let's say between two regular human beings like Hisoka and Castro, it doesn't matter whether one is more powerful than the other. When it comes to Nen, it all depends on strategy, and that's something that Togashi did with the Nen system that I absolutely love, as opposed to like kind of like what Dragon Ball has become now. And I'm not saying that Dragon Ball doesn't have battles with actual strategy between the with actual strategy in them, like, you know, characters go in with an actual plan to fight this person. I'm not saying that. There are some of that still there, but for the most part, it kind of boils down to, like, oh, who has the biggest power level? Like, and I just, for me personally, I've always found that kind of boring. And while it does make for, like, an interesting fight aesthetically, with, you know, the big explosions, the flying around, the ki blast, all of that, personally, I've just always loved fights that had strategy behind them, as opposed to just you know, like who can cause like the biggest explosion, you know what I mean? And I loved that about the fight between Hisoka and Castro, and how Hisoka, his plan was to completely psych out Castro, and that is what ultimately led to him losing.
Predicted that Castro would die.
Let's go back to where we were.
And didn't give. Killua may find himself easily trusting of his words at face value, only to find it all to be a facade in the end. In true transmuter fashion, only Hisoka himself knows for certain what is truth and what is lie. Now, Hisoka is also extremely fickle. Often, what used to be a year-long obsession of his can become irrelevant for him in mere moments, like with Castro or his infiltration of the Phantom Troop. And of course, the most defining trait of Hisoka is being driven and motivated by desire. No matter if it's becoming a member of the world's most dangerous criminal organization in order to challenge their leader, or grooming young boys into becoming stronger hunters just so he can fight them in the future, Hisoka is never deterred from getting what he wants. Injury, failure, and even death only seem to make it all the more fun for him. This hedonism is expressed by Hisoka in so many ways, but I want to look at two aspects of this in particular here: sex and violence. Let's start with the latter. Hisoka is literally addicted to fighting, as in he can't live without it. And in this context, I think it's worth taking a look at his relationship with the protagonist.
君も合格。そのプレートは君に預ける。
Despite the differences between Gon and Hisoka, the two find themselves inextricably drawn to each other. On the surface, both appear to be opposites, right down to Hisoka's appearance as a scary clown, the mortal enemy of prepubescents everywhere. But as the show continues, their differences blur into similarity. Both Gon and Hisoka share the classic shonen trope of the warrior. These are characters abnormally proficient in battle, learn fast, and are able to tolerate immense pain, even deriving a seemingly unhealthy, almost addictive level of pleasure from it. Other such examples include Kenpachi from Bleach, Sukuna from Jujutsu Kaisen, and of course Goku and Vegeta from the
Dragon Ball, yeah.
franchise. For these types of
Doesn't care about your
characters, there seems to be
feelings.
little to no choice. Everything in their life seems to lead them towards combat, even if they try to avoid it. This desire to better one's powers and define one's entire existence through battle are not unique to Hunter x Hunter. However, while most shonen tend to avoid the problems associated with this stance, Togashi calls out this issue by making it a central part of both Gon's and Hisoka's characters. They enjoy fighting because it gives them a sense of importance, having people notice and fear them, and gaining a sense of control. They have the power to have an actual impact on the world. As a great example of this, let's return to the fight in the Heavens Arena, where Hisoka, without any real need to do so, sacrifices an arm to prove his superiority, satisfy his desire to dominate his opponent, and gain the upper hand. Pun absolutely intended. This has a strong influence on Gon, where later in the Greed Island arc, Gon mirrors Hisoka's sacrifice against Genthru, throwing away a carefully thought out plan just to dominate his foe. But as if Hisoka was not already a masterpiece of a manga character,
We reacted to this. If you are interested, you can find it on the channel. Maybe I'll link it in the at the end of this video.
Based on his immense self-confidence and as a way to express his hedonism, Hisoka's character carries a very interesting sexual element as well. And yes, I know it's probably a bad idea discussing this, but hey, if you like Hisoka, that's part of his character as well. That guy
yeah.
literally flaunts it in everyone's face. It's like with real people, you only get them as a package. Deal with it. In general, in an industry that focuses heavily...
You know, it's because of videos like this that I'm happy I've got the filter on, because maybe I'll be able to get, you know, past the YouTube whatever system that they have that kind of, you know, notices things in your videos. So maybe it's a good thing I've got the filter up.
And often a bit too heavily on female sexuality, Hisoka is a rare case of a male being over-sexualized. Now this is especially interesting as Hunter x Hunter is still considered a part of shonen, a genre aimed at young boys with strong heroes fighting against evil. So not exactly a scenario that requires a sexy, somewhat queer man to be involved here, but here we are. This part of Hisoka's character is quite open for interpretation, and Togashi meant it to be that way. The main point, however, has surprisingly little to do with sexuality itself. Hisoka dressing and behaving the way he does are a visual representation of him not giving a fuck about the rules and embracing who he truly is at heart. And since he is a hedonic magician, well, that's what you get. For Hisoka, the line between sexuality and violence is quite fluid and often vanishes completely.
Which, for me personally, I think that that's maybe one of the things that a lot of people really like about Hisoka is what he just said right here about how, you know, like he just doesn't care, he doesn't give a fuck, he'll dress however he wants to, and this is me. I either accept it or don't. And I think that people in general just like that about a person. You know, they may not like everything else about you, but they'll at the very least respect that you own up to who you are and you don't care what people say. Like, I think most people respect that in a person, which is why I think that it's probably one of the reasons why a lot of people kind of like Hisoka, along with a lot of other things. And there are some things that are of course questionable about his character, but
Sigmund Freud would be proud. The much debated scene where he gets aroused just walking behind Killua and Gon can be interpreted in many ways, but what gets overlooked quite often is the fact that Hisoka gets aroused just by thinking about fighting Killua and Gon once they reach their peak in strength. And while this aspect
which
of Hisoka
is something, again, I really do hope we get to see.
It's exactly what makes him such a fascinating character.
I hope that we really do get to see Gon and Killua as adults, because it's been mentioned too many times by Togashi, I think, for him to just basically pull a swerve on, you know, us the readers and just not have it happen at all. I just I don't know, again, I could be wrong, but I just feel like he's mentioned it too many times for it not to happen. Like he had Bisky mentioned it, Hisoka even implies it, at least, with how he wants to fight Gon and Kilo when they're adults and they're much more proficient when it comes to using Nen, and they can provide him a great fight. I think that it's been, like I said, it's been mentioned way too many times for Takashi not to do it. So yeah, just want to say that.
Doesn't care what you think.
そんな目で見つめないでよ。
Jeez.
興奮しちゃうじゃないか。
And so this refreshing role reversal serves as a central element underlining who Hisoka is as a person. Now, many of these central traits can also be found in the symbolism of his character that you might find this either very surprising or not at all, had some inspiration from the JoJo series. For example, a central theme for Hisoka throughout the story is the number 4, like the 44 name tag or his number 4 within the Phantom Troop. 4 is an unlucky number in Japan. Maybe you know that 4 is yon in Japanese, but there is a second word for 4, which is shi, which also means death. And death truly is all around Hisoka. Another theme is that of the clown, the fool or the joker, a very common trope in storytelling. However, Hisoka is not the warm-hearted fool, but the intelligent trickster.
Mm-hmm.
He is known for his intelligence.
Okay, that's from Warner Brothers, so I don't know. I mean, Warner Brothers is crazy when it comes to copyright, so I don't know if I'll be able to get away with it.
And due to being non-conforming, incredibly irritating to anyone who follows the general rules of society. Next to Hisoka, another very famous example is the Joker from Batman.
Okay, I know I haven't done this in a while, but like I said, Warner Brothers is crazy when it comes to copyright. They'll find even a second of footage and they'll block your videos, so I gotta be really careful here.
Who has reached a similar level of popularity based on the very same traits.
Yeah, it should be okay.
As a clown, Hisoka is of course also
hopefully nothing will happen
in a serious manner when he's actually facing a very strong opponent, such as Crollo. Otherwise, his focus is always on delivering a show for the audience, himself, and even for his opponents. Always with another twist and another ace up his sleeve, guiding the audiences from act to act. If you want to go really meta here, you could even say that Togashi has created a storyteller within his own story. But even then, Hisoka is much more than an interesting character that enhances the story. He's a carefully crafted narrative tool, shaping the story and characters around him. Thus, Hisoka is perhaps one of the most subtle but also impactful examples of Togashi's writing brilliance. By making Hisoka purely hedonistic with no particular goal outside of being entertained, Hisoka can easily adapt to any purpose the story requires of him. He is a true wildcard, a true magician that can take on any role, be it ally or foe. He is the one that enabled Gon passing the Hunter exam, triggering his desire to become stronger, ultimately forcing him and Killua to master Nen.
覚えたくらいでいい気になるなよ。念は奥が深い。
He is the one that tips off Kurapika about the gathering of the Phantom Troop. And on Greed Island, that already has a powerful antagonist, he happily takes the side of the protagonists to advance their respective interests. At the same time, Hisoka, right from the start, is shown to kill without warning or hesitation, always oozing bloodlust and, as mentioned, being fickle to the degree that you can never be sure when he will stop helping or what he's gonna be up to next. After being absent in the Chimera Ant arc, where he would probably have been a very bad fit, Hisoka reappears in the next arc as an antagonist to Killua.
Which is, again, one of the things that I like about Togashi as a writer is he doesn't have characters in his story if he knows that they don't fit, you know, like he said. And other stories would probably sacrifice, you know, narrative integrity for, oh, just have the character in because they're popular and it might make people like it more. So yeah, I'm just happy that Togashi's one of those people where he says, okay, if this character doesn't fit into the story that I'm telling now, they're not going to be there. I've always really liked that about him.
And the force of nature during the Succession War arc.
僕は戦闘が好きで、ここは格闘の聖地だ。まさか、その質問をするためだけにここへ来たわけじゃないだろ。僕がキラーをやるのは。
As much as he's able to seamlessly adapt to any story, he's also a wonderful tool to demonstrate the story's progression and to power scale the other characters. Due to his obsession with fighting, we see how powerful Hisoka is, giving us a great insight into many of the characters he encounters. Hisoka was always meant to be extremely strong, but not uber powerful, like Netero or Meruem. As a wildcard, he can be a powerful ally or villain, but is never meant to be the main antagonist. The reason he's so good at showing us the progression of the story and all the characters around him is not because of his ever-changing wardrobe, though let's be honest, it's always nice when anime characters bother to actually buy more than one set of clothes, not only fashion-wise, but also functionality-wise. Jesus, I mean, this is fashionable. Where was I going with this again? Oh, yeah. It's not because of fashion, but because of his flat character arc that Hisoka makes a great mark for character growth for Gon, Killua, and Co. Character arcs are always about a character believing something about the world that is false. In a positive arc like Killua's, it's about discovering this lie, rectifying it, and becoming a better person. In a negative arc like Gon's, at the moment of revelation, in this case his meeting with Pitou, this central moral insight fails to happen, and the character falls deeper into his lie, becoming a worse person for it. A flat character arc therefore belongs to one that already knows the truth. For Hunter x Hunter, this truth is the fact that people usually aren't either good or bad, they are gray and morally highly complex, driven by desires, thoughts, and the people around them. Gon fails to realize this and keeps believing that everyone is either black or white. Killua understands this after removing Illumi's needle and is finally able to love himself despite his faults. Hisoka, on the other hand, already knows who he is and what he wants. He's not held back by doubt or shame. Now obviously, just because a character understands the truth doesn't mean he always does the right thing. What makes flat character arcs interesting is how they act based on their insight. And so it often makes these characters a lot more versatile and complex, as they can use this truth to do both good or bad in the world. Thus, Hisoka isn't just this one-dimensional character as some people like to believe, which is why I love the shower scene, which...
Are there people who actually believe that Hisoka is a one-dimensional character? Come on. No, that's just wrong.
Might be the single most important moment of his character.
Had to mess with the audio for the the song, because
the narrator is basically saying, sit back, turn off your brain, and enjoy the shit show that is Hisoka's life. And since Hisoka doesn't have to go through the same process of learning the truth anymore as the other characters, we can see their development in comparison to the constant that is Hisoka's character. And that brings me to the main point of this video. Based on all that we've talked about so far, all the fantastic writing and the character design, the thing that truly makes Hisoka a masterpiece of storytelling is the fact that you, dear viewer, are being manipulated by Hisoka as well, as am I. This becomes clear in all the controversy around him. We get so much mixed information about this man. Is he good or bad? A role model or the worst type of person? Relatable or repulsive? All these conflicting emotions are the true genius behind Togashi's writing. So, is Hisoka actually good at heart, but has a hard shell? Or is he actually just cruel and selfish to the core, manipulating us just like the other characters into thinking that he has a good side? Or something in between? We will probably never be able to tell. We love him for his cool manner and his fantastic fighting skills, but despise him for his cruelty and lies. And so, all we can really do is sit on the edge of our seats whenever he shows up, not knowing if we're gonna get the carrot or the stick. Togashi has created Hisoka to thrust the central moral argument of Hunter x Hunter into our faces. Human morality is complex. There is no clear black and white. So we might as well lean back and enjoy the shit show that is the life of Hisoka Moro.
Okay, so that's the video right there. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, I don't know what else to say about Hisoka that he hasn't already said in the video. But one thing that I kind of wanted to elaborate on is like he did mention something in the video that I thought he was going to go into a little bit more, and he kind of did. But the thing that I wanted to elaborate on was when he mentioned how Hisoka, like, when he was talking about his past, is he being honest, or is he just, you know, lying to us? Is he just being manipulative, as he, you know, tends to be? And I love that about Hisoka, because he, like, Togashi, what he's doing there, if he is doing what I think he's doing, and what I think probably a lot of people think that Togashi's doing with Hisoka, is he's basically turning him into an unreliable narrator. And I've just always loved that in writing. I always love when either it's the perspective character, or there's a character in the story where you never know whether they're telling the truth or they're being honest with you. Like, for example, he brought up the Joker in the video, and Nolan actually did that with Joker in his movie The Dark Knight, where every time he brings up the story of his past, it changes. You know, first it was you know, his dad was or no, first it was his mom, and how I'm a little iffy on the details. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but first his mom, you know, got into an accident, and, you know, she needed surgery, but because of that, it screwed up her face. So he took a knife and he screwed up his own face. And then later on, it changes to his dad was a drinker, and then he took the knife to his face and gave him the scars. And, you know, it makes you realize that, okay, yeah, this guy, like, you don't know what his story is, because this guy's crazy. He probably doesn't even know what his story is and what happened in his past. And that's what's so interesting, and why the Joker for years has been so interesting, is because he doesn't have like a set backstory. What was his name? Alan Moore did try that with The Killing Joke, where he gave Joker sort of like a backstory of him being a failed comedian. And then, of course, the movie Joker by Todd Phillips kind of incorporated that. He incorporated a little bit of that into his story, where, you know, he was a failed comedian, and then something happened, and he, you know, basically went crazy. It sent him over the edge. And same thing happened in, you know, Killing Joke, where he was, I think he was a version of the Red Hood, and then he fell into the vat of acid and he went crazy. And even before that, he found out that his pregnant wife died, unfortunately. And I always really like that in stories, where they would incorporate like the unreliable narrator, excuse me, and you never know what their story is. But anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, share, subscribe if you haven't, hit the bell for notifications, and I hope I see you for my next reaction. Bye for now.